faithfully bringing you value by exploring great books worldwide. Hi, this is Sally with Book Talk. Today, we're diving into a book called The Spiritual Life of Animals, a deep exploration of animal consciousness compared to human ancestors. Nowadays, our relationship with animals has changed dramatically. Close interactions between people and animals are on the rise. More folks have pets and treat them as key family members. These cats and dogs show off human-like behaviors that surprise us, like fetching newspapers or packages, and they even act cute, throw tantrums, or play dumb. With all these human-like emotions, do animals really have thoughts and feelings? Can they feel guilt? What about fear? The spiritual life of animals not only gives you a fresh take on animals, but also helps you understand yourself better. The author is Peter Wohlleben, a famous German forester and nature writer, born in 1964. He dreamed of protecting nature since childhood, studied forestry economics, and spent over 20 years as a government forestry officer. Later, to live his dream, he managed forests using eco-balance principles. He quit his government job, became a forester, and focused on restoring forests to their wild state. This let him immerse in nature for years, getting close with plants and animals. This spiritual life of animals documents. It reveals the hidden behaviors of critters like squirrels, dolphins, reindeer, crows, and dogs, opening up a fascinating animal world. The book's core idea is to drop the God view and give animals full equality and respect. In the foreword, Peter writes, "I believe animals feel just like us. We must wise up, admit they have emotions and joys, and truly respect them in nature." Next, I'll cover the book's key ideas in two parts: emotions and wisdom. First up, emotions. I'll discuss four: love, shame, fear, and grief. Starting with love, animal to animal love and animal to human love. When it comes to animal love, the classic example is motherly love. However, there's been a long-standing question: is animal maternal love purely instinctual? Many believe this concerns the fundamental difference between humans and animals. Humans are advanced beings, while animals merely follow instinctual calls. In other words, another squirrel caring for her babies is just nature's programming, driven by hormones, while human maternal love is superior and nobler.
But the author argues human maternal love isn't more noble than animals.
First, during childbirth, both humans and animals produce hormones like oxytocin that intensify maternal instincts.
Moreover, under certain conditions, animals adopt like humans. Sometimes kin, sometimes even cross species.
Like an American crow that lost its chicks adopting a dying stray kitten, or dog mothers adopting piglets. Not uncommon. The author says humans must shed superiority complexes. Even if human or animal maternal love differs, neither is superior. Having covered animal to animal love, let's examine animal to human love. How should we judge this cross-species affection? To determine if animals can truly love humans, the author conducted classic imprinting experiments focused on maternal bonds. This tests animals' instinct to imprint on the first being they see after birth, recognizing it as mother. Exactly what he tested. He simulated egg hatching conditions, incubating a chick with an electric blanket. Naming it, the chick followed him incessantly from birth. It chirped anxiously when separated. This intense attachment overwhelmed him, forcing him to entrust the chick to his brother. Later, the chick befriended an animal-loving English teacher in the village. They became walking companions. Undoubtedly, this chick formed deep human bonds, an experience familiar to many pet owners. If you raise puppies or kittens from infancy, they'll see you as mother, creating parent-child-like bonds between species. But it seems these young animals choose humans only out of survival needs. As a mother, if they grow up, will they still stay by their owner's side? Although most animals make this choice, the author believes we can't rule out the possibility that they've been tamed and can only survive by depending on humans. In other words, if returned to the wild, these kittens and puppies couldn't compete with feral cats or dogs. They'd quickly become prey for large predators, as they're already inseparable from humans. Prey cat Although it seems pets and humans can form close bonds, whether it's from dependence or love, the author can't give a definitive answer. So, can a wild animal that's never been tamed by humans form an emotional bond with us? Here, the author discusses two scenarios. One is obedience, built through food, which doesn't seem like genuine emotion. One of his neighbors often used peanuts to lure a little squirrel. Over time, the squirrel grew bolder, even slowly opening the balcony door. The neighbor was thrilled, thinking he'd befriended this little spirit. But later, he found that once food stopped, the squirrel became very irritable, nearly tearing the doorframe apart with sharp claws, ruining the good vibe. The other scenario, wild animals approach humans without seeking food. These animals might approach out of curiosity. The author shares an experience with his wife in Sweden's national park. One morning, they woke in the mountains to find reindeer curiously gathering. A young fawn boldly came within a meter, then lay by their tent and napped. It made them feel both surprised and happy. Throughout history, humans have mostly hunted, imprisoned, and killed animals. So, animals evolved an instinct to be naturally wary of two-legged beings. But in remote places where animals haven't suffered human harm, they can accept close contact. Such encounters are completely voluntary, not food-baited. This friendly bond between humans and animals is truly precious. To sum up, animals' feelings toward humans are complex. Pets form close bonds, while wild animals show natural curiosity or wariness. So how do we understand human emotions toward animals? For example, many pets are just emotional substitutes for humans who've lost children. Others are unsocial people who dislike human contact, seeking companionship from animals. Humans also alter animals' looks and biology to make them cuter, taming them to crave human affection. Is this transformation really love? That's highly doubtful. French bulldogs are a perfect case. Bred purely as pets, they have flat muzzles, pushed-in noses, and wrinkly skin. While this gives them an adorably ugly look that tugs at heartstrings, in reality, their anatomy causes breathing issues. They constantly pant. Ironically, the panting makes them seem even more needy and lovable. Plus, people dress pets up, overfeed them snacks, and let them lounge without exercise. This can seriously harm their health, causing inactivity, obesity, even death risks. Is this genuine love or a twisted form of control? Is it a real dog or a living plush toy we've created to satisfy our cuddle needs? The author believes these questions deserve deep reflection. All right, that covers the first emotion, love, in animals' inner worlds. Next is the second emotion, shame, a more complex feeling. It's the guilt felt after doing something wrong, meaning animals must understand right and wrong to feel shame. The author owns two horses, one 2 years older than the other. He noticed the younger horse often misbehaves and ignores commands. When scolded with the older horse present, the younger one tilts its head and yawns, looking embarrassed. But without the older horse, this doesn't happen. This shows the younger horse feels ashamed when watched. It cares about saving face. Fascinating, right? Another emotion stemming from shame is regret. Actually, from a survival perspective, regret benefits us. It represents reflection that helps make better choices next time. Avoiding potential danger is an effective lesson learned. This regret can be observed in animals too. Researchers at the University of Minnesota conducted an interesting experiment. They designed a multi-room dining area for rats, training them to associate sounds with food. For example, entering a room triggered a sound. Higher pitch meant longer wait for food. The rats quickly learned the rules and began exploring different rooms.
After entering a room and hearing the sound, they'd wait, but soon impatiently switch, only to hear higher pitches elsewhere.
Then, the little ones would gaze regretfully back at their previous room, but they couldn't actually return. Just like when we switch supermarket lines thinking it's slow, then see our original line moving faster, that's when regret hits us. So that covers shame, the second emotion in animals' inner worlds, and the regret it spawns. Next is animals' third emotion, fear, essential for survival in both humans and animals.
Because fear is a vital instinct protecting our lives.
Like standing atop the Eiffel Tower, you might feel nauseous and increasingly terrified just wanting down.
This fear of heights evolved to protect ancestors from cliffs. Animals not only feel fear but can recall and relive it.
Take the author's dog, terrified of vets due to shots and teeth cleanings, developing lasting fear. Every time on the drive to the vet clinic, it would smell the clinic's distinct scent through the car's ventilation.
Once the car turned into the parking lot, he'd start feeling scared.
And once on the exam table, he'd tremble all over. Having covered fear, let's discuss the fourth emotion, grief. What does animal grief look like? The author shares a deer story. Deer are social animals. Does often stay together, led by an experienced doe who's had fawns. That motherhood experience is crucial because it shows she can not only care for herself but also protect others. But sometimes tragedy strikes the leader. Her fawn dies, either attacked by predators or hunted by humans. The grieving doe struggles to accept reality, returning repeatedly to the site, calling for her child. This grief has survival value. It helps creatures process loss. But if the leader remains immersed in grief too long, the herd replaces her for safety. This shows grief affects animals as profoundly as humans. Having covered emotions in animals' inner worlds, let's move to part 2, animal intelligence. We associate intelligence with brains, yet not all creatures need developed brains to hold wisdom. Birds lack a cortex but aren't dumb. They mark foraging spots to avoid wasteful returns. Regarding animal smarts, I'll cover 5 fascinating aspects: logic, quality standards, collective wisdom, knowledge transfer, and life perspectives.
First, logical thinking. Animal cognition is surprisingly sophisticated.
Whether temporal sequencing, spatial reasoning, or truth judgments, they sequence events, organize spaces, and even deceive. Crows exemplify this. Clever birds, skilled in scheming with exceptional planning abilities. At the author's ranch, one crow always flies onto the hitching post when he feeds horses, watching curiously. Later, when feeding horses, he'd bring some grain for the crow, too. So, like any bird willing to be tamed, the crow arrived daily as expected. One feeding day, the author noticed something odd. Instead of flying straight to its usual post, the crow first landed on distant grass. It held something in its beak, an acorn, upon closer look. The little bird pecked a hole, pushed the acorn in with claws, then gathered grass to camouflage it. Perfect execution. But suddenly, the crow glanced at the author, dug out the acorn, and started digging multiple new holes instead.
Each time it mimed burying the acorn until finally hiding it in the last hole.
Only then did the satisfied bird fly back, perching on the post as if nothing happened, waiting for grain. This showcased the crow's intelligence, assessing what the author saw, then deceiving him while hiding the acorn. In that short time, it also handled complex planning, its stomach capacity being limited. Eating the acorn first would fill it up completely. Sure, it could hide the acorn first, then return full belly to stash grain for later. But hiding individual grains is far harder than hiding one acorn. So, despite hunger, the crow understood delayed gratification, hiding the large acorn safely, filling up on grain first, saving the acorn as backup. A perfect time-managed plan. Beyond logic, animals also demand comfort. You've likely heard of Maslow's hierarchy. Human needs progress from survival to status and spiritual fulfillment. Similarly, animals seek better comfier living beyond survival, a higher cognitive pursuit.
First, animals love comfortable homes. Squirrels line their nests with soft moss for warmth and coziness, far better than scratchy twigs.
Pigs, too, are surprisingly clean. They prefer designated toilet areas, separating living and waste spaces.
Yet, factory-farmed pigs eat, sleep, and defecate in cramped, foul-smelling spaces.
These conditions are brutal. Moreover, animals choose comfortable paths, avoiding uneven ground and obstacles. Rain-soaked grass or thickets also discomfort them. We've all felt that clammy chill when damp grass soaks our pant legs. For animals, this dampness can threaten survival. Wet fur makes them vulnerable to chills. That's why animals use human-built logging roads and forests. Animals happily tread these smooth paths, and create their own trails without human help. Look closely in woods. You'll find animal trails, plants trampled flat to bare earth, keeping travelers drier. These dry paths offer another advantage: better escape routes.
When twigs snap in dense brush, animals must flee instantly.
But fallen branches everywhere become dangerous obstacles. Clear paths allow much faster escape. Where are these ready-made paths? Animals pass down these secret routes through generations, like inheriting a mystical map. We've covered individual smarts, but do animals cooperate? They actually excel at it. Third, let's explore group intelligence, ants being classic social creatures. They build mound-like nests spanning 5 meters with intricate chambers housing multiple queens. They're responsible for laying eggs to ensure the colony's survival and growth. Ants have strict divisions. Queens handle reproduction. Billions of workers build and feed her, while winged males, a privileged class, mate with the queen. But their lives are short, dying right after mating. Bees have similar societies. They're clever, using dances to signal nectar locations, with hives showing even greater collective intelligence. In winter, bees cluster in a ball to avoid freezing, protecting the queen at the center. So what happens to outer layer bees? Do they sacrifice themselves? Bees aren't that foolish. They thoughtfully rotate positions. Inner bees periodically relieve outer ones, then regroup tightly. Social insects seem tiny, but form superorganisms through collective wisdom, conquering complex environments. Sally's book talk previously covered superorganisms. That book dives deeper into social animal group dynamics. So, how do smart animals pass down wisdom? Teaching the next generation. Take pigs! Often called dumb, but they're anything but. A Vienna vet school found an exceptional mother pig who birthed 160 piglets in her lifetime.
She taught them to build nests with hay.
When daughters grew up, she assisted like a midwife during their deliveries. Beyond passing wisdom, parents must know when to let go. Animals spend less time raising young. They must mature fast and face the world, ready or not. How do parents foster independence? One way, making food taste bad. The author's goats did this. Mother goats birth kids in spring. Their milk tastes rich like premium cow's milk the first week. But after 2 months near spring's end, it turns bitter and unappealing, forcing kids to graze. Mothers also ration milk, eventually kicking kids away impatiently after brief nursing. Because before autumn arrives, it must prepare to mate and reproduce again. Animal wisdom shows not just in survival skills, but also in their attitude toward life. As humans age, their physical functions decline. Animals are no different. What do they think when nearing life's end? Actually, animals approaching death often foresee it and voluntarily leave their group. Elderly, weak animals move slowly, easy prey, so they choose secluded spots to rest alone. This benefits the herd. Elders become burdens, so they leave proactively to avoid endangering others. You might have heard cats hide from owners when sensing death. Rural cats may leave home for quiet final moments. Urban cats might hide under beds, sofas, or balcony corners. Many see this as final dignity or avoiding owner grief, but it's instinct from wild survival days. Wild cats hunt but also become prey, so when unwell, they hide, hoping to recover or pass quietly. An old goat in the author's flock similarly left before dying. When found, it lay comfortably with legs tucked under, like peaceful sleep. This shows it didn't die in pain. Painful death would show sideways collapse, dirt scraped by hooves, stiff twisted neck, hanging tongue. So this goat knew its time had come, found solitude, and passed peacefully. This peaceful acceptance of death is wisdom, offering vital lessons for humans. Observing this helps humans accept life's departures more easily. For instance, someone chronically ill, seeing death approach, or when someone enters old age, frail and weak, then death isn't an accident but a solemn, inevitable celebration. With that, we've covered the book's core content. The author concludes that humans resist accepting animals' inner lives due to 2 psychological barriers. First is fear, losing humanity's perceived superior status. Second, the more we understand animals' minds, the harder it becomes to exploit them. Every meal eaten, every leather jacket worn, would be tainted by moral unease. If we clearly realize pigs have names and can care for their own family members, the psychological pressure of facing roast suckling pig becomes obvious. But the author clarifies understanding animals doesn't mean abandoning diets. If extended, animals feel, trees live, how could humans get nutrients? We should recognize humans, like many species, have the right to use, even consume, other beings for survival, because we can't photosynthesize to get nutrients. This book helps us recognize our place in the biosphere, fostering more reverence toward the world, whether toward animals or plants. Practice moderation. Avoid overusing resources or arrogantly dominating nature. All right, that wraps up The Spiritual Life of Animals. Find show notes below. See you next time.